Hello. I hope you can't hear my cat. She's very noisy. But yeah, we're waiting on a wait list for both these games. 4 cent, 8 cent, the lowest stakes possible on Pokerstars for stud high low. I've already tried to make 2 videos and both of them failed using Cam Studio. So I've switched over to Camtasia and hopefully it works this time, and it looks like it's a much slicker software. Very expensive though, if you do choose to buy it. Obviously there's other means of obtaining such software, but I couldn't possibly condone such a thing. My name is Adam. I recently finished in 3rd place in a horse tournament on Sunday at the Stratford Aspers Casino. It was the amateur poker tour, APAT. I think I don't know if it's called amateur poker tour, but that's what it's called. The APAT event. It was. I finished 3rd. Played very well, but just couldn't pick up a hand on the final table. Ended up folding all the way to 3rd place, whilst everybody else just knocked each other out. Did manage to bust a couple of people though, but I hardly played a hand really much the whole tournament. I think I played one hand that I can remember of note in stud high low, with and I didn't even make a low. So, and I scooped the whole pot though. With I think I took off with ace 10 8 with the ace up showing, and it was all of spades. Otherwise I wouldn't play the hand. If it wasn't all suited, I wouldn't bother. And I ended up making 10s and 9s against a guy who was who was working on making a low. He backed into a pair of queens on 6th Street and then just bricked out the whole thing on 7th, and I didn't. He bet on he checked on the river, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna. This is such a big pot. It was like 2,000, 4,000. So it was pretty big. I mean, actually, it might have been 4,000. No, it was 4,000, 8,000 with a 1,000 ante. So it was and it was 7-handed. It was pretty. It was a pretty big pot. So I just thought I'd turn that over and hope it's good, and it was. But anyway, on to this. The reason I'm playing 4 cent, 8 cent is because I have no life money with which to play that I could deposit with. I can't afford to be splurging cash from what little money I do get, because I'm not working. I'm a student, and times is tough. So I took off with a 1 FPP Stellar Award for 10 cents, and I've been working on that ever since for a couple of weeks now, and I've currently got 58, $56, something like that. I was up to 115, but I basically spunked a lot of it playing No Limit Omaha High Low on Zoom. Turns out, even though that Omaha High Low fixed limit is like my thing, No Limit, not so much. Hopefully I can get in this game so we can start talking about it. Otherwise I might just cut out everything and start again. I really just finding this quite tedious, doing all these reruns. to say video making is not my forte. I don't have a great history of it. I've made a couple, and you can find them on PokerTube under the name Hello. We've got a seat, and there's my balance there. And we've just sat in there. We've got a heads-up display running as well, so that should come up. And now I've forgotten what I was saying, so forgive me about that before I just got that message. Oh, hello, I've got another seat, that's great. Okay, so have we got good seats? That's not a playable hand. I'd say I know a couple of these players. I know Hard Poker Joe. I know Leuni, or I don't know how you say that, but they're from Australia. Albie, I know that guy. I know Sasha Ayu. Obviously, I've got a note on that person. I know Scalpel over here. I've seen Avatar play a couple of hands. I've played, I mean, when it comes up, when my heads-up display decides to work, which it will when I've play a couple of hands, it will show you that I've played over 5,000 hands at this level. And I've played at the higher levels as well, because I figured it's worth it. My heads-up display is always configured incorrectly because I just don't know how to get my head round FPDB, which is the only Binsu. Where's Binsu? Over there. Binsu's over there. Hard P there. History. It's me. Bat. There. It's the only tracking software which can record stud hands. It used to be that you could get Poker Tracker stud, and they used to do that, but then that's not a playable hand. Then they just stopped doing it, and okay, so it seems like everyone's too along on this table. So I'd say that Gertrude was there, Albie is there, that's me there, bam, bam, Binsu there, Sinead, Uni there, and Hard Poker Joe, kind of like Mocha Joe. From now that's a playable hand. We've got a 4 up, so it's disguised. We've got 1 dead diamond. I think I just saw a couple of low cards gone there. I wasn't paying enough attention, but it's a great spot to steal. We complete the bet, and they peel. They catch a diamond. That's bad for us, and it's also 3 diamonds, so we need that card. If they lead here, I'm going to bet, and I believe that if I bet, they will call, and I don't think I'm necessarily in great shape. I mean, it's probably 50-50 at this point. I'm just going to check and hope. And now he's hit another diamond, so that's not too good, because we've now seen 2, 3 diamonds gone, and there's 4 here, so that's 7. That means that there's 6 remaining, and we've got to hit some low cards. Now, because I don't know exactly what cards they were that were gone there, I'm not going to raise. I would normally raise, but and it's also too likely this person made trips or 2 pair, and I don't want to risk getting 3 bet against trips, and I'm not in great shape against 2 pair or trips. And it's looking likely that they did in fact make trips, because they're leading off with 3-3-8-7 into 4 deuce to 6 ace. I have two too good of a hand, and I brick off. If they bet this river, I'm going to fold my pair of aces. And that's judging as well by this person who I have played a little bit with. As you can see, they don't, in my opinion, they're not very aggressive. I don't know how you can look at their aggression factor. Yeah, I don't think that's, I mean, look, that's 26%. And look, you can see all the different streets as well. So let's look at mine. I should be significantly more aggressive than that person, I think. Where is it? Post. Yeah, see, I'm quite a bit more aggressive than that person. I think that's quite that's a bit more reasonable. But this person is not very aggressive, and they were betting with a worse board than mine into my strong board. It's very likely they have me beat. So I saved a bet there. Over here we're getting starting to develop a hand. It's not much of a hand of it at all, really. We've got a 9 in the hole, so that makes things bad. But these both these people bricked off. It's possible I could just bet there and try and take it, but I don't really think they'll necessarily fold at this level. And I'm not going to be peeling because I need a runner on a 6-7, and the pot is pitiful. So there's no point trying to do that. Well, there is a point. Obviously, there's a point. You know, you can win the money, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. The risk is not worth the reward. Over here, we've got one of the best hands you can be dealt. Aces with a deuce. Obviously, it's better to be buried. And now Binsu is limped in with a king, so that could be a pair of kings there. They do tend to play quite cautiously when there's an ace behind them, and they'll just continue to call you down anyway, and that's fantastic. So I'm not particularly worried about whatever they have, and they just folded straight away, which is quite surprising for this level. I keep saying for this level, and I'm not trying to denigrate anybody that does play at this level, because first of all, I'm trying to make money at this level, trying to build something, put something together. And second of all, I've played quite a lot of hands, and it's not like every single player is awful at this level. It's that, you know, there's some legitimately good players that just so happen to be playing down here. You know, maybe they don't want to play higher levels. Maybe it's just for fun, you know. But you know, everybody's got different reasons for playing. Like this chappie over here, Albie. He's playing very tight for stud high low. 14% of the time, I believe that is, to 4th street out of 211 hands. Now that's not a great sample size, obviously, but it is quite significant. So out of that's basically saying that out of 211 hands, he's probably played about 25, maybe. I'm not the greatest at maths. I'm more of a feel player. So we're not really, there's not really a lot happening. We just have to try and follow the hands as they go along. On the left here, we've got nothing really of note. It's 9-6-2 is no playable hand. Besides, there's a bunch of cards that we needed. So 3 aces and a 7. Normally I write down the dead cards. I think I'm going to do that as well because where is it? Where's my notepad? There it is. Going to write down my dead cards, and then I won't mess up anymore. Because in that last hand where I had the 4 flush and the 4 to the 6 low, the very strong low draw, I didn't remember exactly what cards. Who was it? Sasha RU and Scalpel. What they exactly had. Now this hand you could play for a steal, but now there's a king queen there gone and a jack gone. I'd have to hope that the 6 passes and the 8 and the 5 passes. And the general rule of stud is if somebody limps in already, the idea that you can steal the pot is pretty much over. So we're not going to try and do that. But you know, it's not generally a playable hand, king queen ace. But in certain situations, you can play it as a steal and then hopefully pick up some connecting cards, or you can hit some low cards if you've got the ace up. So we say they're a tight player, Albie, but he took off with 4-3-8. So that says something about him. You know, that he will play a Raz hand. Will play. Oh, why have I got capital letters on? So we've got an ace up. This is 7-8 is terrible, but there's only a 5-6 to contest with a low, and we've got the ace up. There's a good chance we might be able to take it down if we can get by this 6. If Sinead calls, I don't necessarily think that they have anything significant. They both brick, so that's brilliant. We should take it down here. And if Binsu calls, then it's fair to say they've got a legitimate hand. Now that Sinead calls again, it's very likely that she has 2 good cards in the hole. It's unlikely that she called with 1 bad card in the hole and then called again when she hit a queen. So I mean I'm obviously winning by a mile, and I hit aces up on the river, so I just hope that they make a pair and call. I wasn't too worried about what they had, especially because they're a loose player. I mean, if they did raise me there, I wouldn't like it at all, but I would call because it's too likely that they made a flush on the river. They had 3 spades showing. So we've got a 4 and a 6 over here on the right, 3, 5, 7 with the 7 up. Obviously they're cards that we need, but we might be able to take it down because there's only 1 low card to contest us. That's not in the bring in. If the bring in calls, you know, they do tend to have a good hand, but they also do tend to peel a little bit too light. But that being said, whatever they have, and they just check behind straight away. That's very interesting. We don't know much about this person history. That's not a playable hand on the left. He seems to be not very aggressive so far, but we'll just take 3 cards and hope for the best. Now, I could bet out here with the ace high, but he has connected with the 6 there, and he could have a low already. It doesn't seem very likely though, given that. So I am going to bet because he basically played it like he checked so quickly on 4th Street, like check behind after I checked at 7-10, which is obviously a brick for me. That it's obvious that to me that he has some sort of bad card in the hole. Now I could have made the best hand on the river with a pair of 5s here, and he bets out. To me that says that he could have made his low. Given that we have we saw a 6 gone, I don't suspect that he has a pair of eights. I'm not necessarily believing that he will value bet one pair. I think it's quite reasonable to assume that he's made a low here, and he has made a low, and our pair of fives is good. Because we bet out on the 6th street with a pair of with an ace up, it seems like to him perhaps that we have a pair of aces. So he might not value bet kings, and it doesn't seem likely, given how quickly he checks on 4th street, that he had made two pair. That's bad. We had a pair of fives in the hole, and a 5 came out, so we don't like our hand anymore. Plus there's an ace 4, which are also cards we very much need. We need to fold this hand straight away. With regards to the river on that the last hand with the where I rivered the pair of fives, I don't think it's a bet at all. It's basically, you know, we were playing our hand on 6th street as if we had the best hand with ace high, which we did, and then it was basically unless I connect with my hand, I'm going to check, and then basically decide whether I want to call off or not, and most likely I would have called him with ace high, because of those same deductions about whether my pair of fives is good. He's not going to value bet less than a pair of aces, and he doesn't seem like he's got two pair. Now we had a 3-4 dead, but we don't mind not hitting a 3 or 4, so we're okay with that. And now a queen's in there, and they're a dog if with my hand in there, so we're going to definitely 2-bet here. Pair of 7s on the left. Deuce, deuce, ace, ace, 8 are the significant cards. Now they just call. Now we hit a perfect card, but unfortunately for us, history has made queens open, and now they check. I'm interested in what they've got, because it seems, and often in this case they have 3 queens, but we're going to bet anyway, because it's too likely that now that they've checked, they actually started with a 3 flush, and it seems like that's what's happened. Over here, I don't really like my hand, so I'm going to fold, especially because I want to focus on this hand on the right. Now if you recall, that there was another 4 gone, so we're not going to make it 3 4s very easily, but we have got the best low draw. We have got an ace overcard. Aces are all live, and obviously 5s are all live as well, and we're going to keep betting until, and if 6th street we brick, then we're going to have to check. Now he's folded, which is an absolutely tremendous result for us, and we've also made the best low. We've got a lock for the low. We cannot lose the low. We could possibly be winning with a pair of 4s here. Hopefully they make a bad low, and then they don't pair up, and we screwed the whole pot. That is what happened. Obviously they're complaining because I'm going through these hands, trying to evaluate about my hand, and talk to you guys. So this person, I would say they're not really a aggressive player. This Albi person, they're very tight. Oh, we need to dump this pair of 4s. See, a pair and a low card can be a good hand, but a lot of the time it's a marginal hand, and you should fold it. I think with the 7s and the 5 with the 2 flush before, that was, I probably could have played that hand, but to be honest, I just wanted to focus on the right hand table, and being such a marginal situation, it's not the best spot. And over here, this is one where you could get into a bit of trouble, because there's the ace over here, there's 2 jacks behind. We could have the best hand right now, but I'm just going to fold. Um, and it turns out we would have we would have connected with that ace because the cards come out in the order that they came out, but it's not worth thinking about that. Looks like Leone realizes that we're playing 2 tables because they've obviously looked me up on the search. Be interesting to see what happens on the river here, what sort of hands they're going to show down. Looks to me like they've paired the deuce there, and they've not paired the deuce. Okay, so they made the low and they just called along. And what else did they have there? They had, so Binsu took off with a 10 in the hole, so that's worth noting. I mean, it's pretty evident from their VPIP that that's what they do anyway. So we've got a pair of sixes and a deuce. The pair of sixes with the deuce in this spot is much more marginal than the sevens with the ace, or the sevens with the 5 earlier, especially because there's all these cards that could have helped us. I'm not going to be calling, especially first of all because the kings is ahead of us, and these players probably between them have some sort of low working for them. I'm not going to try and hit anything with that. I'd prefer to start with 3 good cards, and a lowly pair of sixes is not sufficient for my standards. In a lot of cases it could be, but in this particular hand it wasn't. You know, I'd have to be in like a later position with folds to me, that type of deal, with my cards live. So how do I? Right, we need to say let's get the caps lock off. Plays 2 lows, 3rd for a limp. That is what happened, right? They I think they limped on 3rd. Bring in with the king ace deuce. That's not a playable hand, except if you're stealing. We're not going to call a completion. So okay, let's speed this up quickly. So they just flat called with the ace up, with ace 10 with 10 deuce in the hole, and that's a bit of a leak. If you're going to play that hand with the ace up, I would suggest 2-betting and playing it aggressively as though one held a pair of aces. Because then if the Leone bricks out, they'll just dump their hand and the ace will win, which is one of the other valuable things about having an ace showing. They will just give up on the basis that they can't even beat your ace, even though odds-wise, you know, if you didn't have a pair of aces, it could possibly be correct to call. Although often it's not. On 4th Street, if you brick off, usually you should just dump your hand most of the time. And a lot of players don't do that, and they just sort of bomb through to 5th and hope to hit something. But what they're doing there is playing six cards against somebody's 7 often. You don't want to play 6 cards against somebody's 7. It's a 7-card game. You want to make sure you're using all your cards as much as you can. So we got a 3 flush, and there's two of the suit out, and also it's very marginal in terms of the ranks of the hand, because we've got an ace in the hand, we've got some low cards. It's looking like we're going to dump this hand, and we do. There's the ranks of the hand are just too marginal. Now, granted, they don't know that I have a queen jack in the hole, and the queen jack is live. So if I hit that, it looks very looks like I just bricked off completely. But with these other hands in here, with the low hands, it's just too likely when you hit your flush, you're just still gonna only get half the pot. So it's just not really worth it. And yeah, I was getting a good price. I only had to call 2 cents more, but it's better just to always just try and go for the scoop. I mean, it's a bit cliche because everybody says that all the time. So I still need to assign a colour to this player. I need to edit the player note labels. So I need a new one, I need yellow, and that means tight passive, and I would suggest that person is tight passive. Okay, and we're going to set him to... Oh, it's not come up. Okay. Okay. I think I might have cancelled it or something. Let me try. Yep. That's going to let me. It seems to be a bug on Pokerstars right now. You need to like click it twice to make them change colour. My note taking is not brilliant, but oh, that's good. We took that down. That's nice. Note taking is not brilliant. I mean, I should write the stakes of the game and the game that I'm playing along with it. But I kind of think at this, this juncture where I'm just trying to build up, I don't need to take it too seriously. Obviously, I'm trying to do the best I can in terms of winning. An interesting hand over here. We need to edit the. Yeah, that's that. So the king's just flat call. Suggests strongly that they don't have 2-pair or kings up. The 7-5 is obviously on some sort of straight draw, low draw combo. The king, another king comes out over here, so looks to me like this person just has 2-pair scalpel, but we could be wrong. But although they just led out with a deuce of clubs, so that's interesting. A lot of times when the high card plays passively, if they're a reasonably tight player, as this person is, that's a decent amount of hands to play. Maybe a tiny bit too loose, maybe not. I think that's an acceptable level for maybe a different type of playing style. Maybe, yeah. When the high card plays passively early, and then they start connecting with flush cards, and then they start playing aggressively, it's often the case that they do have the flush. Whereas if they complete straight away, then often they just have the pair. Particularly true when the card is lower, I find as well. If the card is more like a 10 or a 9, people don't like to take off so much with those hands, like as a pair of 10s, pair of 9s, because they know that they suck big time. We're coming up for 35 minutes now, so I'm going to try and stop this video and get back to a new one in case my computer brain farts. Or I'll play this hand. I'll sit out here on the right. We've got a deuce dead, and the rest of the cards are favourable for us. So if we get any sort of completion here, we're going to 2-bet them. and what we should see is Binsu, our friend over here, with the too low, because remember they limped before with the too low, and look at these up cards. Normally, if you have the three good low cards, you're going to complete into a Jack Queen Jack for sure. But that being said, I don't think they're necessarily an aggressive person. Binsu. I mean, look at there, yeah, 38. Okay. Well, obviously I've got him crushed at this point. And he probably has two bad cards, two good low cards. Okay, so I'm gonna try and sit out. Oh god, I missed that. I should have clicked that beforehand. But okay, well, I'm not gonna play that hand. That's not a good hand. I'm gonna stop it right there and come back.